Routines for self-regulation. It's a bit of a stereotype that autistic people often over-rely on routines. The diagnostic criteria even has a section on restricted and repetitive behavior. So what is a routine? Why do we do these sometimes very repetitive behaviors? And how can you leverage the benefits of a good routine to help with your own emotional self-regulation? Hi everyone, Paul Micallef here from Autism from the Inside. I make weekly videos sharing the human side of autism, so make sure you hit subscribe to get the latest content. So routines are supposed to be good, right? Like health advice says, have a good morning routine, have a good evening routine to help with your sleep. We have routines for school and work and study, and cultural rhythms like weeks and months, and yearly festivals like holidays and seasons and things like that. But as usual, unfortunately, the autistic version of this is sometimes undervalued by society because it falls outside what is considered normal. For example, I used to eat literally the same food every day. I even made a video about it a couple of years back. Same breakfast, same lunch, same dinner, virtually every day for several years. I eventually lost that habit after several years. It just wasn't practical to maintain in the same way. But now I'm thinking maybe I should try and bring it back, or try and bring parts of it back that were actually really helpful. So I guess the first point I wanted to make is that sometimes behavior and routine that seems obsessive or overly restrictive might actually be a really effective emotional self-regulation strategy. There are so many benefits to routines that we probably don't even realize when we instinctively create them. The most obvious one is that if you have a good solution for something, why fix something that's not broken? Just keep using that solution if it's actually working for you really well. I've bought exactly the same pair of shoes, or at least I tried to buy exactly the same pair of shoes, even though the exact model wasn't manufactured anymore, several times in a row, because I really like them. They're a really good solution for me. My first pair I got the first time I walked the Camino de Santiago over 10 years ago now. And then at the end of the walk, after 900 kilometers, people were burning their shoes. I'm like, are you kidding? Mine are just getting started. And then I wore them for another 18 months walking around Europe for my solo travel at the time. And they were fantastic. And they were so good that when I got home, I bought another pair. And then 2 years later, when I'd worn through those, I bought another pair. And then recently, last year, when I walked the Camino again, you guessed it, I got another pair. And after, again, walking 1,000 kilometers, you can see a little bit of wear and tear, but they are just such a good solution for me that my brain says, well, why would I try something else when I already have something that works really well? So part of this is that if you're a little bit atypical, the chances of an everyday solution fitting you really well can be quite low, which means that when you find something that does fit, it can be really nice, really exciting, and the incentive to try something new, knowing that the chances of something new being as good or better are very, very low, I'm much, much more likely to just stick with what I've got. So there are pros and cons to that. That gives me a really nice, stable solution for the moment, but it also leads me to myself the same breakfast that I always make. I don't even have to feel hungry to know that it's a good idea to make myself breakfast. It's a little bit like stopping at a red light when you're driving a car. You don't need to ask yourself, is there any traffic coming the other way? Is it safe to go through this intersection? You just stop, and then you wait for the light to go green, and then go. And it radically reduces the amount of executive function required to analyze the situation, decide what to do, and find a good solution in a new situation. There's also an added benefit here, which I've kind of alluded to, and it really leads well into the third point, which is that routines help with self-regulation. By making my breakfast and eating the same thing every day, regardless of whether I'm hungry or not, I'm just on autopilot doing the same thing I always do. I am predicting in advance what my body is going to need in terms of nutrition, and I'm making sure I meet those needs in advance. If we take hunger as an example of something that we need to regulate within our body, I don't need to wait till I'm starving and rely on my own self-awareness of constantly checking in. Do I need more food now? Do I need more food now? Am I on empty? How close to empty am I getting? How urgently do I need to go and find some food right now? I skip all of that because I have a routine that predictably more or less meets most of my needs in advance. And the example I just described is really just the tip of the iceberg. The fourth major benefit, and I think this really deserves a category in itself, is that routines help my body to regulate itself. So the third one was I'm regulating my body by deliberately giving it what it needs, but there's an even deeper category here where my body is constantly regulating itself all the time. It's getting cues from the environment telling it, how is it supposed to be? Am I supposed to be awake? Am I supposed to be resting? Am I supposed to be stressed and energized? Am I supposed to be paying attention? Am I supposed to be relaxed? All of these things, my body is constantly trying to physiologically prepare itself to be able to do what it needs to do in any given moment or situation. There is a huge value in external routines like waking up and going for a walk in the morning and getting that sun in my eyes so that my body knows that it's time to wake up. Or maybe I have a favorite song that I listen to in the evening and I have a bedtime routine. And so I'm not just telling myself it's time to go to bed now. My body knows in advance. If I have a regular bedtime, then my body gets used to that and knows several hours in advance that it can start preparing appropriately to be ready to go to sleep in 3 hours. And then an hour before bedtime, it's still getting confirmation that, yep, that's right, bedtime is still coming at the expected time. And I'm hearing the right music and I'm doing the right meditation and the lights are changing in the right way and I'm in the right situation. And all of those external things, due to my routine, help my body to regulate itself. And this is one of the core things to recognize in emotional well-being. It's possible to be okay, but not feel okay if our body and our emotions and our environment and everything is not properly synced with each other. These days, the pace of life, at least I find it to be, is so quick and changing and flexible. Like I'm expected to be flexible. And when I try to be too flexible, what I end up doing is destroying the really solid baseline routine that my body needs to self-regulate. If you think of how humans used to live hundreds or even thousands of years ago, you get up during the daytime, you sleep at nighttime, you get up at roughly the same time every day, you do roughly the same thing every day. You have a weekly routine where no one works on a Sunday, for example. Whereas these days, when we can be as flexible as we want, I can stay up till 2 a.m. if I want, and there are lights in my house and I can still be productive and I can talk to people halfway across the world. And who cares if it's a Sunday? My culture expects that you should be able to do anything at any time, which is kind of convenient and very flexible, but also robs us of this really stable routine and rhythm of life, which can make it a lot harder to regulate our bodies. I'll give you another personal example. Some years ago, I visited a religious community in France called Thèse. I was really fried from work at the time. I just finished a 12-month secondment in the US, and consciously I knew I needed a break. But what I didn't expect was the power of the rhythm of life that I experienced. I only stayed there for a week because that's their rhythm. They accept people on Sunday, and then the next Sunday, all those people go home and a whole new set of people come along to visit. And every day had a rhythm as well. There were set times throughout the day, the same every day, for communal prayer and communal meals and silent time and group time where you catch up with your little group. And in the first couple of days, I was thinking, isn't this fantastic? This is really nice. I don't have any commitments. This is really relaxing. I'm really, really having a good time. I thought I was really relaxed. But by day 5 or 6, my mind was completely blown. It took that long for the rhythm to sink into my body. And I finally realized the incredible stress that I'd been putting my body through for the last 5 years at least up until that point. I just didn't know that this kind of state of relaxation was even possible. So that was a very eye-opening experience. And interestingly, I came back to the community a couple of years later, and a very interesting thing happened. I got on the bus from the train station to go to the little village. 2 minutes after getting on the bus, where it's probably a 20 or 30 minute ride, and I start experiencing these intense emotions just watching that French countryside go past and knowing that I'm coming back. It was like my body was taking the cues from the outside and regulating itself in advance before I even got there. And the lesson that I take from that, now that I know a lot more about emotions and how our neurology works and all of that kind of stuff, is that is one of the ways that routine and repetitive behavior and doing things that involve patterns that are very, very recognizable from our body's point of view, it tells our body at a physical level how to feel. I did a video a little while back on CBT and talking about how that can be really useful for some things and really quite unhelpful for others. It is basically the technique of trying to influence how you feel by your thoughts. Now, thoughts are one good way sometimes to influence how you feel, but a much, much more powerful way in the long term is to build up habits and patterns and routines. Now, these might be patterns of thought, but they can also be patterns of actually physically moving or physically changing our environment or doing something so that our body knows how it's supposed to feel. And what you're essentially doing is building a habit of feeling good, which means that you can regularly feel good, regularly relax without trying to force your body to relax. Because what I find is I used to be actually pretty good at relaxing, pretty good at concentrating, pretty good at being flexible, but I was using all of my mental energy trying to brute force my body into doing what I needed it to do, whether that's sleep or get up or wake up or concentrate or relax or whatever it is to do. Whereas with a routine, it's like I'm writing the code inside my body so that it does it by itself in advance and I don't even have to think about it. Anyway, there's a lot more we could say on routines. Lots and lots of books have been written on this stuff. One thing I'll leave us with today is that just because a routine works for someone else doesn't mean it necessarily works for you. So when trying to find our own routines, it's kind of important to experiment with finding a way that my body actually likes to feel good and remembers how to do that in the future. If you're interested to join us into a bit more of a deep dive into routines, Shannan and I are doing a webinar coming up very soon. Next week, I think. I'll confirm the details in the description. It's one of our monthly AFD member webinars. Membership via our website is a relatively new thing. We've been doing it for about a year now. So check out the website for the latest details on that if you're interested. You basically get access to our entire webinar library and a bunch of other things like these monthly member webinars on various topics throughout the year. And if you're not interested in becoming an ongoing member, but there's one topic that really piques your interest, we also have tickets for just an individual webinar available for purchase as well. So that's really nice, having a growing community that meets online every month. Thanks so much to all you early adopters who have already jumped on board while we were still getting it off the ground. And I'm excited to keep creating more resources on more in-depth topics as we go. So all details of that are on the website. I'll leave a link in the description. Otherwise, thanks for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd really love to hear what your personal routines are and how they help with your self-regulation. Do other people understand your routines? Do they seem a bit weird? Please leave a comment. I'd love to hear your experience. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again next week. Bye.